A CBS report was recently released saying that the president will soon send 40,000 more troops to Afghanistan. That report was quickly denied by the White House, whose spokesman said, quote, "Reports that President Obama has made a decision about Afghanistan are absolutely false. He has not received final options for his consideration. He has not reviewed those options with his national security team, and he has not made any decisions about resources. Any reports to the contrary are completely untrue and come from uninformed sources," end quote. The White House is clearly playing politics with its inevitable troop deployment to the region. But my next guest makes one of the strongest arguments I've read, that our mission in Afghanistan is over and it's time to come home. Joining me now is Karen Kwiatkowski, author of a great article, "Afghanistan is a Success, Time to Come Home," which you can see at LewRockwell.com and elsewhere. Karen is a retired Air Force lieutenant colonel whose assignments have included the Pentagon and the National Security Agency. Karen, welcome to Freedom Watch.
Well, thanks for having me.
What was the mission in Afghanistan that you have so persuasively argued has now been successfully accomplished?
Well, we wanted to topple the Taliban, remove Afghanistan as an operating facility for anti-American terrorists, and to create a democracy of sorts, to kind of bring them into the 21st century of modern ideas of democracy. And I think we've done that.
What is the danger to stability in the Middle East or to the security of the United States in Afghanistan as it exists today, if there is any danger?
Well, the danger in Afghanistan, and certainly Pakistan too, today, as it exists, is in the body of the United States military that's deployed over there. Very destabilizing force. The longer we stay post-mission accomplished, so to speak, the longer we stay, the more debilitating it is, and the harder it's going to be for the Afghans to really, in a kind of peaceable and somewhat safe way, resume normality. While we're there, they're not normal.
What is the danger to American freedom, if any, in Afghanistan? Does it come from the Taliban?
No.
Does it come from al-Qaeda? And are either of them there in sufficient numbers to justify over 100,000 American troops there looking for them?
Sure, not at all, not at all. The Taliban is not a danger. In fact, we were friends with the Taliban for many, many years before this, and I'm sure we can, and I think even General McChrystal would say that we can work with them again. In fact, I think there's some evidence we're working with them now. So the Taliban is no threat to American values or American freedom. Al-Qaeda is not operating from Afghanistan in any kind of significant way, if at all, and I think that's been reported by our own government.
I mean, just think about how odd this war is. The host country is a democracy whose government is allied with the United States, whose president was fraudulently elected, but at least there's the appearance of a popular election. And yet we're being asked to introduce 100,000 troops into that country to do what? To help him chase out of the country people that have already left and have already gone to Pakistan, another country with which we're allied? What kind of sense does that make?
Well, it makes no sense. But part of what my article was talking about, and I think what many people are thinking about when they think about Afghanistan, is the reasons we were told we went there, kind of the arguments that were put forth to the American people. And then there are some other fundamental business and military-industrial complex type reasons that were there. And those reasons, of course, still remain, which is why McChrystal wants 40,000 more troops, which is why Obama is considering it. Now,
we all know, notwithstanding what President Obama said when he was a professor at the University of Chicago Law School, and notwithstanding the speeches that he made when he was in the United States Senate, that now as the President of the United States and Commander-in-Chief of the military forces, he recognizes war is the health of the state, and presidents like war. Are you surprised that the quintessential liberal Democrat, maybe even a socialist, he may be even farther left than the quintessential liberal Democrat, suddenly embraces the military-industrial complex, something he has eschewed his entire adult career until the day he became president?
I wish I could be surprised, but I'm not surprised. I think many Obama supporters may be surprised and are learning something about the nature of the state.
Do you think he'll have difficulty on the left when and if he announces another 40,000 troops? I'm sure that the neocons will applaud him and say, look, he's finally come around to our side of things.
Yeah,
but how about those who have a general antipathy, whether they're on the left, whether they're libertarians, wherever they are, who have a general antipathy to all war except truly defensive wars?
Sure. I think, though, he runs a risk, and I call it a risk, he may be planning to do what LBJ did in kind of extending the Vietnam War well past what we knew made any sense, and that is to buy off both sides. So the success of his health care reform, perhaps other domestic, what I consider to be socialistic, socialism in America, but those projects have beneficiaries. They have folks that like them who may not like the war, but if they get the other thing, they may be okay with it. So I think he's going to try to make everyone happy, and of course that's a recipe for disaster.
Colonel, you might be a little too young to remember the phrase, but in the LBJ years it was called guns and butter, and even his most ardent advisors told him he couldn't afford both. He couldn't afford the cost in money and in blood of a major land war, and at the same time, remember, the Obamacare is just another version of Medicaid and Medicare, which were started under LBJ. Can President Obama afford this with any more ease than President Lyndon Johnson could back in the mid-'60s?
With far less ease. I mean, the government, the size and scope of government, even though it had been growing before LBJ, was nothing like it is now, and the value of the dollar was more significant, more solid, more stable than it is now. So, no, we can't afford it, and we can't afford it. But that's just my opinion.
What do you think, before I let you go, what do you think we should do, if anything, militarily about the threat from al-Qaeda? I mean, it is a bit of a conundrum that they are in countries where the governments are friendly to us.
Yes.
Should we introduce weaponry and men and materiel there against the wishes of the host countries? Should we be bombing people from the skies using drones that are ignited 10,000 miles away in Langley, Virginia? Or should we let the locals deal with their own problems?
We need to let the locals do it, and it's consistent with American values shared by, I think, almost all Americans, that we would do that. We talk about self-determination. Let's live it. We need to put that into practice in our foreign policy. And until we do, we're going to have problems.
Colonel Karen Kwiatkowski, thanks for joining us on Freedom Watch.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me.
You can catch today's show on foxnews.com/freedomwatch and on Sirius 145 XM 168 or online at foxnewstalk.com at 6 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays. From New York, defending freedom. Until the next time, stay free, America.